on the same page.
I'm gonna get some tissue. I shot some Afrin, but I'm still a little snotty, so in case I need to step out and do that.
I still have Olympus Plague. Let's do shit we did. Okay, are we recording?
I think so.
Great.
Yes, we are.
Welcome to Shit We Did. Hi, guys.
Oh, are we recording on our phones right now as well?
Oh, shit. Good point.
All right.
Oh, I need to set up my Audacity. 1 second. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, that's going to be annoying. Ha, ha, ha.
He, he.
Ho, ho, ho.
Okay, that's reasonable. I wish there was a way of not having to hear my own audio back through Audacity.
Could you use your phone for it?
I could, but my phone is fucked right now. I'm almost certain that it would not record the whole hour.
Everybody, live it down. Everybody sucks. Everybody.
What is that?
It's what band is that? The metal one with the opera singer.
Welcome to Shit We Did.
System of a Down.
Are you guys recording right now, or are we just warming up with Shit We Did?
Let's record it because it gives us like intro material for the pre music thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, welcome to Shit We Did. Hi guys, how are you guys?
I'm good. It's the morning. We've never done a morning recording before.
That's true. We're fresh. We're
not fresh. I've still got a full pot of coffee to work my way through it. I'm gonna get a lot
at 4
better.
a.m. and woke up at 8 a.m. to watch this fucking movie.
This is gonna be the opposite of my knowing podcast because I'm just gonna get stronger as we keep going. But I'm gonna be like semi-comatose for the first 10 minutes.
This is not even my final form. I have not yet begun to film, bro.
Still making my way through my morning LaCroix.
Every time I wake up, I just gotta pop one. Not proud of it, but this is who I am.
Yeah. Become addicted.
Kyle, what did you do this week? Or since it's been like a month since we last recorded, what's been going on with August?
Yeah. How was your summer?
Did you hang
out? Well, so I came back to work from vacation, which was really hard.
Oh, where'd you go?
That information is classified.
All right.
I had never taken vacation from work as an adult before, and I don't know if I want to do it again. It's so hard jumping back in.
Oh yeah, and there's no vacation. There's only you go to another place and have the looming threat of everything you have to do when you get back in the back of your mind.
Yeah. I launched my own website, which is nice.
It looks really good.
It does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm not revealing my last name to the podcast, though it already happened in a previous episode. But if anybody can find me on the internet, hit me up for headshots. Yay.
Also, if you listen to the 43rd word of each podcast, you can figure out Kyle's address. So,
I forgot about that Easter egg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's actually really hard to build the intros, especially when I'm not writing them. But, it's all for Jesus.
It's all a punch editing.
Chris, what about you?
What did I do this week of note? This month. Oh, yeah, wow. I too went on vacation to an undisclosed location. And I saw Kyle there.
Does this have anything to do with that sort of Greek sort of thing, by chance?
Oh no, just Romans. Romans.
Ah, right.
We actually went to Romania, which is a very different thing from
From Rome.
From Rome.
Although probably less different than we think.
It's true. I think, yeah, I've got a Romanian friend. But what did I do this last month? My memory's not that good. So this week I I worked on a commercial. A friend of mine is like in production, and she was like, "Oh, you want to work on a commercial this week?" And I was like, "Sure." So I worked on a commercial overnight for 12 hours, and that was fun. Question mark?
Yeah, you got a credit. That's good.
Yeah. So that happened. Yeah. What about you, Connor?
That's it. Well, this past month I moved again. So I think that I've moved 3 times since we started recording the podcast.
He's a vagabond duck.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, my new place is awesome. I didn't pay for her, and I don't pay for her food or her medicine, but I kind of have a pet now for the first time in my life.
What kind of pet?
She's a kitty, and she's so good because she's 14 and she's so old. But like, it's so nice because like the only cats I've ever met in my life were like young kittens that had been really poorly socialized. So I'd like walk into the room and they would just hiss for just like 2 hours whenever I went to my grandma's house or something. And so I've never really known a nice cat before, and I've always been very wary of them. So I was moving here. I'm like, listen, man, it's a great location. I get like a nice room. There's air conditioning. The kitchen is good. Like, you'll figure out how to make it work with the cat. It'll be fine. And then like I walked in the door with all of my stuff, and she like the cat's just sitting there, just like sort of looks at me sideways and then flops onto its back. I'm like, oh, never mind. You're perfect. Like, this is exactly what I need.
Old cats are the best.
Oh, old cats are great. And now like I definitely know that whenever I go somewhere next, and I know that I will like be home for a good portion of the day, so I'm not like leaving a lonely animal. Like, I think I'm a cat person now. Not like that New Yorker article, but like yeah. No, but I love her. That job interview was cool. I don't know if I want all the details of this going up on the air, but just to tell you guys basically what happened. So they're like an online marketing, like one-stop shop for like search engine optimization, social media stuff, getting a new website, doing all the redesign and things like that. And so I applied for a position that would have been like the person who does the initial design board once we have a client onboarded and stuff like that.
Nice.
And I had never done graphic design or anything like that before. So all I have is GIMP, which is like the bare bones open source Photoshop.
Oh, GIMP does basically everything I need. The only reason I pay for Adobe is for Lightroom access.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, and so I just had like no idea what I was doing. So like I spent a good 12 hours Googling like how to make a shape, how to make a border, how to make this and that. And like, it's not very, I'll send it to the group. It's not very good, but I was like pretty proud of what I did, given that I've like have no visual artistic ability at all. Because like my task was for a coffee shop in Vermont. That's just like a little hole in the wall thing. And they have like a funky green exterior. And so
cool.
Yeah, I'm sending right now. But yeah, and so they got back to me the same day and were like, "You're pretty good at this." Like, and they did like a on the phone interview, and then it was going so well, everything was good. And then she's like, "So what are you making right now?" And I'm like, "Oh, like they're 2 very different industries. Like, I work in a pretty lucrative part of immigration law, so like, not really looking to compare directly." And she goes, "What would you be looking to make?" And I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to get out of this alive. And I'm like, whatever's fair for the Austin rate. I've got like student loans I need to pay, but whatever. And she cuts me out. She goes, "How much money do you make?" I'm like, and I tell her, and then I heard the interview end, like as soon as I said that, because I looked up online and they were going to make me an offer of like about 13 grand less than I'm making right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it's really awkward because I know she knows I'm not going to take it. But then I hear her like clicking a few things and like typing around, and she goes, "Do you have any interest in like leadership?" And I'm like, "Go on." So long story short, I'm interviewing for the boss of that position right now.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't do it.
That's great.
Yeah, so like basically if I got this, my job would be once the poor sales team get a client like onboarded, or when they find a lead that's interested, I'd be the person that calls them or emails with them and like basically explains what we do, talks a lot about their business, what their general strategy is, and then checks in with them every so often, like along the different steps of the process. And once you start implementing like new websites and new social and stuff, to like check in, see how things are going, and like keep a record of that, and also try and figure out like what trends are working, what's not working, do some kind of mathy stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah. And that pays really, really well. So I could live in like a pretty decent part of Austin. And they also, if you take Uber Pool or the bus or the light rail, they'll give you like $200 a month for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is
Okay.
fucking
If you're at like near the bare minimum Uber fare, that almost compensates, and it's certainly cheaper than owning a car.
Oh, for sure. And like I found a couple of nice places that are right like 2 blocks away from the light rail. So I figure I'd just probably do that if I got it.
Austin's such a fun city.
I haven't been before, but I felt like a weird, almost spiritual calling to go to Austin since I was like 17.
Hipster!
I know, right? Like hipster, but not like an Astoria or a Brooklyn hipster. Like
you're like a call to nature hipster.
Yeah, I want like skinny jeans and a 10-gallon hat. Like that's my persona.
I want to carry my own shade.
I want Shinola cowboy boots. Like,
God, no, don't do it.
Shinola.
Yeah. So if that works, we should definitely go down to Austin and hang out, the three of us. I want to go to the farm, but like this could be good too.
Yeah, I mean, there are many excuses for us to go back to the homeland, and my place is still conveniently in between all of our stuff. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's sick. Keep us posted.
Yeah, I will. So okay, the interview for that one was weird, or the pre-screening one. So for the other one, I had to do like, my actual job. For the management one, I had to take a 15-minute IQ test, and I had to do a 140-question personality quiz. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm like half expecting them to be like, "Thank you for completing this portion of the assessment. Arriving at your home in 2 to 3 days will be a pair of calipers. Please send us your measurements."
Was it like a personality test, or was it one of those like ethical tests? Like you take a pen from work.
No, it was like a depression pre-screening.
Oh man, no, that gives me bad memories of my Bridgewater interview.
Is that like a common thing? Because it seems really weird to me, but like maybe because it is like a management / like sort of consultancy thing. Like,
so in consultancies, there really isn't a normal interview, right? Like you've got your like strict case management interviews, which is like Bain, McKinsey, BCG, etc. They basically only care about whether or not you show up and do the job. Then you've got your like groups that are more cults than businesses, like Bridgewater. Like Bridgewater, you have a one-on-one with a dude whose job is to make you like bare your soul and every flaw you have.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy. Oh, actually, we can't post anything I just said because it violates a non-disclosure that I signed when I did that application.
You had to sign an NDA for the interview?
Oh yeah, that's like standard practice.
Oh my God.
They record every word you say from the moment you're building to the moment you leave, and then they play it back to you when they're evaluating the interview.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that sounds
fucked. It's pretty fucked. But
wait, they evaluate it in front of you?
They do partial evaluation in front of you and then decide if they want to hire you. And if they hire you on the spot, then you get your eval back. Wow. That company is built around radical honesty as a policy. So like it's common practice for like junior employees to email the CEOs and say, "You fucked up at a meeting and here's why."
Wow.
Or that's what their propaganda material said. It didn't work out. I'm not mad about that. Let's talk about a movie, eh?
Let's talk about a movie. Oh, before we get into the bad movie, excuse me, If the movie The Cake Maker is playing near you guys, go see it. It was fucking.
That was here a little while ago. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Good. Movie Pass never lets me watch movies anymore.
Yeah, I'm getting rid of my Movie Pass.
Once I switched my debit card, I just never updated my information because that's when everything was going to shit. So I'm like, yeah,
I really do want to see it out to the end, and the end is fucking nigh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They just lost a key member of their board of directors.
I was reading the Reddit page, and people are just like the like scummy CEO is just holding out until they're delisted from.
Right, the CEO is collecting a salary at this point.
Yeah.
And
I was like, I'm not paying $30 more to last till December.
No, I mean they're a penny share again. They literally their shares went up by two orders of magnitude, and then fell in the same year by the same amount.
God, that is so brutal.
It's like a fucking gold rush.
There's gold in these theaters.
It's popcorn.
We're gonna strong arm our way into getting a portion of that gold for getting gold miners in the gold mines.
What was your name again? You've been such a great CEO, Shmurny Shmadoff.
Shmurny Shmadoff. Now, say we're going prospecting out of the AMC today to see if there might be some good partnerships in the area. This isn't cowboy. I'm just doing like Southern ranch owner.
Are you the narrator from Ghost Rider?
Oh yeah.
Don't get me started. He was one of my favorite parts. Anyway, let's start. This has been shit we did. By the way, this has been shit we did. Nope. Other way. This has been shit we. This has been shit we did.
Nice.
I don't know how I managed to do the harmonica wrong 2 times. Since it's a linear instrument. Anyway. Quack, quack, mother duckers, and welcome to another exciting installment of the Duck Duck Grey Duck Movie Podcast Experience Machine Generator 2K18.
Most consistent podcast in the movie game.
Duck Duck Grey Duck brings together 3 wayward Midwesterners around films good, films bad, and films altogether beyond description. I'm Kyle, and I'm your Grey Duck for the week, which means that my word is squawk. I'm here with Chris.
Intro.
And Connor.
Right on.
We're in week 3 of our Nicolas Cage cycle, and this week it was decided by the rigged vote in our group chat that we would be taking a superhero film that was in production hell for 15 years, essentially the indigestible wad of chewed gum in the film industry's collective stomach, Ghost Rider. This movie was passed between studios. It had at least 3 functional scripts. Most telling, it once had Johnny Depp attached to star. Ghost Rider tells the story of Johnny Blaze, an Evel Knievel-style stunt driver who sells his soul to the devil in a well-intentioned effort to save his father's life. This goes about as well as you could have hoped, and he becomes famous, rich, and rather sad after his dad dies. Years later, the devil calls his debt and turns him into a Ghost Rider, a fire-wreathed skeletal dealer of judgment on evil souls, and sends him after a group of rebellious demons trying to steal the motherlode of souls in order to stage a full-on coup for control of hell. It is so much less cool than it sounds, trust me. This movie is a relic of days of future past when Marvel made comics, not universes, and superhero movies were allowed to be big, stupid, and cheesy without anyone expecting something else. Even on those terms, Ghost Rider stands out as a particularly weird foray into the genre, and that weirdness is centered in Nick Cage, the avatar of filmic chaos himself, whose performance as Johnny Cage firmly anchors the film to no place in particular. So, what did you guys think? What's your initial response to this movie?
Chris is the noted Marvel expert of the group. I think you should go first.
Oh, God.
Canon response.
Okay, this movie sucks. This movie sucks so bad. I have not cringed this bad in any of the movies we have watched. It was the most unfun. Yeah, if we're talking about Marvel, this was before Marvel Studios got their rights back. So this was made by Paramount. So Sony had the rights to this film, and it's no surprise because it is shit. And yeah, this was bad. I forgot how bad this was. Honestly, there's nothing of substance I have to say really in terms of this was when people have their opinions about superhero movies now, but at least they've collectively gotten better than this.
Interesting.
So
let's unpack that later.
let's.
All right, for substance, let's go to Film Boy Connor.
Well, guys, this movie is baller. It is the best movie that we've seen in this cycle so far. I took like a triple dose of pre-workout before I went into it, and I was into every second of it. Super good. Very Nick Cage. I think actually of the three that we've watched so far, this might be the Nick Cageiest movie that we've seen so far. In no small part because of this great piece of trivia, and that in addition to the 3 hours it took them to apply Nick Cage's hairpiece, which is just Nick Cage's hair. They also had to cover up a very particular tattoo, and that was Nick Cage's tattoo of the Ghost Rider that he already had before this movie was made. So, Nick Cage is actually an extreme Ghost Rider fanboy, and lobbied really hard to play this part, which is part of the reason why Johnny Depp didn't end up getting that, because Nick Cage was so persistent about playing the role of the Ghost Rider.
Can you imagine Johnny Depp as this character, though? Like, Jesus Christ.
I would like to see a Tim Burton directed Ghost Rider. I don't like Tim Burton, but I'd really like to see what it looks like. But yeah, so this movie is trash. Once we get into like our feminist critique of this movie, I'm just gonna start yelling because it's amazing to see how far we've come in terms of like societal consciousness of female roles in movies in just 10, 11 years or something like that. But like, yeah, this is a downright offensive movie, and a lot of like to even just very like baseline decent people, this is genuinely terrible. Yeah, state of the art special effects though, because this movie was definitely made in 1982 from the way that it looks. Very consistent plot lines. The part where Johnny Blaze suddenly has a long criminal history was very well alluded to. The movie simultaneously buried 6 leads and excavated another 5-6 times in the first act. It's a terrible movie. I really did enjoy it because it wasn't like bad in the way that I felt like I had to pay attention. But like this, if it had been slightly worse and Nick Cage had cared slightly less, this could have very easily been a midnight movie.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I basically concur. I think like while I enjoyed this movie, I think it was not for the reasons the movie wanted me to enjoy it. I think like the strongest parts of the movie are like without doubt the action scenes, and that is not a good thing.
Oh, I was just about to say how bad the action scenes were for an action movie.
Yeah, no, but like I actually think they're kind of visually interesting because they break all the rules. I don't think they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're just better than anything.
Than everything else around it.
Yeah, I mean this is a movie, like I said, it's kind of a relic of old superhero movies. Like this movie was in production hell from 1992. It was in production hell long enough that superhero movies were in vogue, then went out of vogue, then came back again in the amount of time it took to make the movie. And it has that good like George Clooney bat nipple level of cheesiness to it, where you just want to like dip a nacho in the movie, and just it's the equivalent of junk food in the superhero genre. It's just so many bad ideas in one place that after a while it becomes satisfying.
But I'll say that almost makes it to me a better superhero movie than the current iteration of Marvel ones.
No,
because like superheroes or comic books are like silly and campy. Like they have this like dumb dramatic dialogue, and it's like, you know, it's over the top extreme versus like the current iteration, like the Infinity War arc, if that's what we want to call it, where they're actually trying to like make very serious points, and it doesn't seem like the fun type of self-serious. I mean, we can jump into this later if we don't want to do it now, but like this is something I think I could get into a really good argument with Chris about at some point.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely an interesting. This is in an interesting place for a lot of reasons, and even though the filmmaking pulls a bunch of punches, it still shows you a lot about how the industry has changed in the last decade. Because this was a 2007 movie, right?
The year before The Dark Knight.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
And you can totally tell. Totally tell. So maybe we just jump straight to tone, right? Mm-hmm. Like in my universe for this movie, I think about superhero movies as belonging to a couple of like epical paradigms, right? In the 60s, when comic books were still very much alive and you had just entered like the Silver Age, they were very silly. They were like almost literal transcriptions of a very corny sort of Americana onto the screen. This is like your Adam West style Batman. It then goes from there into sort of like 80s jingoisms when the superhero movies or Superman movies started happening. From there, like Grimdark happens. You get Tim Burton. And there are a bunch of poles, right? It's constantly this tension between like earnest, comical, and grimdark. And this one is sort of tries to do all of them because of the time that it was made in, I think. And you can sort of see, you definitely see like the bad joke element. Like this is your classic example of a punch-up script where whoever wrote it handed it off to the studio and like, it's not funny enough. Let's insert 4 characters that don't need to be there. And it's grimdark. I suspect one of the earlier drafts of the script was much darker because if you go into the Ghost Rider character in the comic books, like he's an alcoholic. He's like a proper anti-hero in the vein of like John Constantine. And Nick Cage's version is straight edge for some reason.
Oh my God.
Like this was like at the height of you can't smoke on film, I guess. Like Gandalf the Grey wasn't gonna smoke in the Lord of the Rings movies because they were afraid of the consequences of doing that. Ooh. But like at the same time, like a straight edge Nick Cage is about as far away from the grimdark origins of the movie, even though he's a fucking like flaming skull biker dude.
Like
that's
how
his superhero persona.
How he didn't drink alcohol. It
gives me nightmares.
Yeah. There's no way a grown man who drinks jelly bean martinis has more than 0 friends. Like the fact that all of these guys didn't make him take his own car and like drive behind the bus because he's weirding everyone out. That's the part of this movie.
I thought the jelly bean thing was it was one of the things I actually laughed at.
But did you laugh because of the absurdity of them? Like, was the origin of the humor from inside of that or from outside of that?
Oh, from outside. I loved that there was somebody whose job it was on set to make sure the jelly beans were filled in all the scenes.
Okay. Yeah, continuity for this film must have been a nightmare, and they still screwed it up. On the highway scene where they stop the news van, there's traffic coming from the wrong direction on a one-way stretch of highway.
Yeah.
Like there's some very easy things that they did not catch in continuity. Back to the like tone issue, right? So like you get all of these competing subgenres of superhero film fighting over what the story should be, and the studio's chickening out and deciding it should be all things to all people, shockingly. And then you also have the film itself trying to use other genre pieces as framing devices. Like the film opens as though it's going to be like a spaghetti western, and it would have been amazing if it was if like this would be an amazing Tarantino property. Like I
That's the
don't
version
love
I want.
Tarantino all the time, but like if you were ever gonna do it, give him Ghost Rider. And then it's also a romance if you can fall in love with the shape of a human being that calls itself a woman and has no character traits. And then like it's also a supernatural horror film. Like I'm usually down for a cheesy like again Constantine style like demons are real, demonology is fun, isn't it thing, and this movie even manages to screw that up. I don't know, like classic example of too many scripts being shoved into too little space.
Too many scripts.
Too many scripts.
It's like they gave like a quick rundown of like, all right, everyone, here's your character, and like they're like, okay, you guys are some demons. You're Mephisto. You're Johnny Blaze, and then they gave like the writers gave everyone like the first 4 lines, and then everything was improv after that.
Yeah, and the casting is so strange too. Like Sam Elliott, who is the caretaker and the narrator, one of the coolest voices ever, but he literally cannot be cast in a movie that is not a Western. Like him just appearing in the graveyard and talking, I'm like, whoa, where are we? Like, who is the dude that played Mephisto? I keep thinking it's Robert Duvall, but it's not Robert Duvall.
Oh man! So the main antagonist, you mean?
Yeah, whoever plays the devil.
That one.
He seems like a good actor who knew what movie he was in and not interested in delivering anything more than that.
Yeah, so that was Peter Fonda who played Mephistopheles. Yeah.
Again, another classic Western actor. Mm-hmm. Like the whole meta plot should have just been a spaghetti Western, but instead it was set in a city for some ungodly reason.
Also, what city was that supposed to be? Like
somewhere in the Southwest, right? It was like
Austin,
Phoenix,
Texas.
Denver, and Houston were the cities they mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been a lot cooler now that you mentioned it to see this movie in a rural setting. Because I think it would have made it way scarier too, like being all out alone, and then like lightning strikes, and Mesopotamia starts walking through the field. Like that would have been awesome.
If it had just stayed at the carnival, frankly, because like I honestly think some of the best cinematography in the movie was that rural stuff. Like
it was. I was surprisingly. It was surprisingly pretty.
Like. There's the like color grading issues with the movie where like, oh, Transformers happened, therefore everything's going to be orange and high contrast, and all of your jewel tones are going to assault your eyes.
Oh, I watched it with Flux on my computer, and it was pretty bad.
So what you're saying is
Flux on that makes me upset.
What you're saying is you watched the Oompa Loompa version.
I wasn't missing anything. I turned it off for real film.
Okay, Kyle, what's next?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, can I share a sad piece of trivia?
Go for it.
So Wes Bentley played Blackheart, who was like the sort of antagonist of the antagonist, who ended up making Mesopotamia Johnny Blaze's friend. I was trying to figure out why he was the only person who seemed like totally into his role. Because I think like out of everyone who was acting, besides Nick Cage, he seemed the most sincere and into his part. It turns out Wes Bentley was addicted to speedballing at this point and would do any movie as long as it like fed his cocaine and heroin addiction. And that makes me really sad to watch this. I'm like, damn, he's really killing it. I wonder where this motivation is coming from. And I'm like, hard drug dependency.
I thought his acting was terrible.
But well, it's terrible, but he did the campy supervillain so well.
Right.
Like it was over the top dramatic, so dumb, took so many stupid pauses. But I'm like, this is straight from the pages of a B comic book.
Sure. If you're going for like, it feels very much again like Bat Nipples. Like that is a Bat Nipples villain. I'm referring to the Joel Schumacher Batman for people who don't know the Bat Nipples reference.
And don't look it up. Just imagine what you think.
Don't look it up. Just George Clooney, bat nipples.
It's exactly what it sounds like. George Clooney got bats tattooed on his nipples for the role of Batman.
Amal is a lucky woman. The other way around.
So if we're talking about the beginning of the movie, where it was almost a spaghetti western, and how that's the movie I want to see. I want to see the old Ghost Rider on the horse, not Johnny Blaze. I jotted down some notes about his narration. I said, imagine like a movie like Infinity War starting out with a narration, like an Old West narration. I thought that was funny.
Some people say legends aren't born; they're made.
His voice is literally like,
sorry, go ahead.
There's a quality in his voice, and I don't understand why. But when he speaks, I want to buy a Ford truck.
I want to buy Marlboros. I hear them like, oh no, smoking's cool. Like this is this guy's voice is sweet. He has so much confidence.
He's like the actual thing that Wilford Brimley is going for in the diabetes testing supply commercials. Rest in peace, Wilford.
We'll be donating all Patreon proceeds for this month to Wilford's foundation.
So how did the Devil's Ghost Rider outrun the devil?
Satan is not particularly potent in this universe. It seems like he's obsessed with getting 1,000 souls. I'm sorry, like at the average Super Bowl, I'm certain you could get more than 1,000 people to sell their souls for.
But it was 1,000 evil souls.
Okay, but like, so you go to the Vikings. Like it's easy.
Zing.
Midwest.
Noise.
We have a common connection between all of us.
We like sports.
Remember
we love the Minnesota Vikings. That's our connection.
Oh God, no, never.
I have some dumb notes, and I'm just gonna fly through these real quick.
Go for it.
Best quote of the movie: Mac, the monkey show. Which, out of context, kind of makes Johnny Blaze seem like a freak, but I like it in context too.
Yeah,
there's so many good quotes, actually, like cheesy good quotes, like the sort of quotes that pubescent me would have been like, "Oh yeah." Examples: Jesus, not even close. But
my name is Legion. We are many.
My name is Legion, for we are men. Literally, that line is lodged in my subconscious. I say it frequently, and no one ever gets the reference. Another great quote: "He may have my soul, but he doesn't have my spirit," which would require a philosophy degree to untangle, frankly.
It's cool trying to like do the Nick Cage voice because he goes between 4 different accents for this entire movie. Because like Johnny Blaze is
Italian still.
You like Italian? Yeah, he sounds like a racist British person in the United States in the 30s. But then like another part of the movie is like a Texan accent, and then sometimes he goes full Cajun, and then sometimes he just has like a neutral Midwestern accent. And all of these are done at about 60% effort.
Yeah. Go for it.
I was just gonna say, if we're talking about specifically that Gabe monkey show,
oh God.
I just wanted to use that as a jumping point for how the movie thinks that like a couple lines or like background things are enough for characterization. Like
the entire female romantic lead.
Yep.
She had a couple lines.
Most of them were permutations of, "So Johnny, what about us?"
Yeah, no, I think they actually hired Tommy Wiseau just to write Roxy's character.
Eva Mendes is actually a Johnny Wiseau pseudonym, didn't you know?
You're tearing me apart, Johnny.
Roxy is one of I think she might be the worst written character in a movie that we have reviewed so far, and it's just absolutely horrible.
Garbage.
Like the movie does so much just like exposition barrage. She does not get a line about her background. Literally, her characterization is, "I'm in love with you, Johnny, and I'll follow you anywhere." You're 17. What are you doing with this guy who does motorcycle jumps at a C-tier state fair? And like we're supposed to.
It's a carnival, sir.
The difference between a carnival and a state fair is the Department of Agriculture's funding. The culture of it is the exact same. That's the most inflammatory thing I've said in this podcast so far.
You're such an urban fool.
Yeah, and like Johnny just treats her so horribly. And like, yes, it's 2006. Sorry. That's just like, you know, that's the mood. But it's just so horrible watching this in retrospect, because like he pulls up on the motorcycle, looks at her standing in the pouring rain, and can't even say like, "Roxy, I don't think I can do this." Like doesn't even do any. He just like stares at her and just drives away. That is the most damaging thing you can do to someone's psyche. That's in-person ghosting. Ghost Rider ghosting.
Maybe that's his qualification.
And it's sorry, go ahead. I'll rant later.
You're in the middle of a rant. I have no right to interrupt it.
And then it's like once she comes back, like you see that like, oh, she's had a career as a successful reporter. No point he's like, "So why'd you get into this, Roxy?" He's like, "Damn, you're looking fine, awooga." And that's like the most interaction that they have. And she's like, "I knew I came here for a reason. That was it." And just like, we'll get into I want to really do a close analysis of the freeway scene. But it's like they don't even try to make her. They like actively make her look stupid, and that's so frustrating. Because like she's sitting in the restaurant, and you know Johnny isn't showing because he's being turned into the Ghost Rider, and she pulls a fucking magic 8-ball out of her purse.
It's the worst.
That is like that's an offensive podcast bit. Like that is how Joe Rogan perceives women, but they actually do it in the film in the Diegesis. Like. And then she gets blackout drunk on this wine, and it's not even like, "Where's Johnny? Where's Johnny?" She pulls the wares like, "Do you think I'm pretty?" They had 0 women in the production room for any part of this. Like, it's so stupid because it's like I get that there's like, and this is sort of going back to my thing, like you could perceive this as being like campy and over the top, but I don't think it is because it doesn't give Roxy any sort of agency in her life. Like at least with the camp of the other characters, it's coming from some sort of internal drive. She's just like, just an overdone ditzy person who like, we're going to put a bookend on this because we're going to come back to how they get together romantically at some point. And oh boy, that's got some problems going on in it. But it's just like, it's so stupid that like her entire purpose in this is like, she's not even the reason that he's like collecting these souls. He's doing it for his dad. And she just comes in and is like, "I heard you need a hot person to compliment your motorcycle ride." And he's like, "Do you want some jelly beans?" Yeah. Also, Johnny Blaze needs to go on Queer Eye. He has no control over his life. He treats women terribly. Like he's an absolute man-child. Like I would just love to see Karama come in and be like, "Where do you think your passion for motorcycle riding comes from?" And he's just like, "I think it starts with my dad." And then everyone starts tearing up. He comes in and goes, "So I turned your entire garage into a functional space now," and like all the motorcycles come down from elevators from the ceiling. Jonathan Van Ness is like, "Honey, you have fantastic hair. We're going to have so much fun with this." It's like, I love your passion for jelly beans. It's so cute. Like, where do you know?
What if instead of motorcycles, we got some nice Ames chairs?
Anthony goes, "So you can still
have about curtains,
but I'm going to show you how to prepare Hershey Kisses." So
you ever thought about doing an avocado martini? I never heard of an avocado before. Is that a new brand of jelly beans? No.
Does Jelly Belly do an avocado bean?
So you can set these out on your guest pillows when they come to visit, and they're called Andy's Mints.
Fuck.
Read him. Oh man, I'm sorry. Queer Eye for Johnny Blaze would be an amazing episode. Oh man, I'm literally crying. Wow.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The scene where Roxy like throws a fit at him on the street for being an asshole, and then shows up literally one scene later with the most bullshit reason ever. Like, I didn't want that to be the last thing.
Yeah,
you did.
She was apologizing, and I was like, "Why are you apologizing? What are you apologizing for? You have nothing to apologize for."
The only thing I can hope is that that's trying to bring two scripts together. Like, if that's not a way of showing together two incompatible scenes, the human that wrote that needs to be locked in a room forever.
Yeah, that guy has just psychologically abused so many women who ever wrote that arc. Like, if that's how he thinks that a normal thing should go, is like, guy does something wrong, girl internalizes the problem with that and goes and apologizes for it, which is, all too common. But it's like, how did that make it through what was probably a writer's room and punch doctors of upwards of 20 people? No one said, even to like the extent of like, hey, this doesn't even make sense. Not like this is an extremely problematic thing.
I'm just hoping it's like an editing issue when there was more shit in there, or it was two different scripts. But like, fuck.
I don't know how we feel about giving this movie the benefit of the doubt.
Right? Yeah.
One of my resolutions for the year is to be on the side of the creator more than I am critical.
Consumer.
But like,
it's hard.
This one makes it hard.
I do love the line where she's like, "You nearly kill yourself on the highway to ask me out, and you don't show. You kiss me and then push me away. Johnny, what's going on with you?" "Oh, Roxy, I'm a soft boy." Like, as soon as she leaves the apartment, Johnny texts 9 girls. He's like, "Damn, sorry, today got real busy. You up?"
Oh man, Johnny Blaze on Tinder.
Oh,
movie happened too soon.
Can you imagine? All of Johnny's pictures are like close shot selfies of his face, except for one where he puts his arm out to show his jelly bean martini because he thinks it's like a fun thing.
Oh, I was gonna say it's all pictures of his motorcycle except one in which it's a picture of his hand and a motorcycle. Not even a torso pic.
No.
So
this is my bike.
He was supposed to be like extreme and awesome, but even his stunts were just really lame and like.
Right. I mean, this is the problem about like some things work really well in a comic book where you can design the perfect frame to make a motorcycle stunt look cool. But like in reality, while it is stupid and garish, I don't know if I could fill a stadium that way. And also like particularly the way they shot it, where they like kept defaulting to the wide, just made it look even more boring. Like everything was way too well lit for that stuff.
You're going, so it's 5 p.m. on like what, a Friday. You got off work early, you go home, you pick up your kids, you drive like an hour and a half in traffic to go to this giant ass stadium. You go, you get popcorn, you get hot dogs. I don't know what you get at these events, but you get your food. You're sitting waiting for like an hour and a half. You watch Johnny Blaze ride his motorcycle for 45 seconds. He leaves, and then you go home.
Also, while we're nitpicking, how the hell did you get the permit to land 6 helicopters side by side?
Yeah.
Johnny Blaze will not be riding over cars.
Johnny Blaze's helicopter stunt was delayed by a stiff breeze, which forced all of the helicopters to collide.
Also, I like the editing in those scenes because it's like, as he's kicking off, he's like, "Hell yeah, action, let's do it!" And then midway through the air, he's like, "I got to think about Roxy for a minute." Dude, you do not think about what's going to happen midway through the jump. If you fucked up at that point, you're going to get sliced.
Word.
But he's got nothing to fear because he's the Ghost Rider.
Also, all of the scenes of him listening to like soft female like pop music before the things, I don't know, like, where is the genesis of the humor in that? I didn't, like, is it because he's a softie? Like, he's not metal?
I don't understand anything about this movie.
This is dumb. We haven't even, like, talked about the action sequences.
Oh, it seems like a natural segue. So, of the amazing action sequences in this movie, which was your favorite?
I remember like 2 of them. That's how forgettable.
Motorcycle driving down the building side. Top 10 most hilarious uses of perspective. Because they de-emphasize the thing that makes it interesting. They're like, let's orient it horizontally so that it seems normal. Dumb. Chain Whip had a lot of moments. Like the first time you're kind of like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And then every single scene contains him slinging the chain whip around his torso and then doing the lasso, and then it hits the thing, and oh god, it's a tornado now.
I love the power levels that his whip has. Like first he has it on the first setting where it's not on fire, and if that doesn't work, then he like starts it on fire, and it's like now it's a ghost whip.
Under a full moon, it turns into a giant monkey. It's crazy.
My favorite action sequence was definitely the one on top of the building that was like in the middle of the building riding scene, where he's fighting the wind guy and he makes a reverse tornado to blow him away. I had to pause the movie because I was laughing out loud at that point, and then I got sad because I thought about it, and I feel like Nick Cage probably wrote that part.
Oh yeah,
I was just so proud of how clever it was, because it was like there wasn't a single part of that was supposed to look funny. Like it was wide shots of this building and there's the freaking storm and stuff, and it looks so cool.
A great line. You can't catch the wind.
Yeah. But it's like that to me was one of the Nick Cageiest moments because it's objectively stupid. It's like that is how people on like a PBS kids show solve a problem, and they put it in Ghost Rider. And he was probably so happy with it. He's like, damn, I'm really clever.
I haven't seen it in a superhero movie before. I'll give him that.
Yep. Chris, resident superhero expert. What was your favorite action scene?
Sorry, I just got distracted because I looked over at like this bookshelf in my room, and my cat's just sitting on top of it staring at me, and I think he's stuck.
Oh no.
What's your cat's name again?
Momo.
Momo.
Oh man, Cats of Grey Duck podcast. We should have them all on.
Cats of Grey Duck. That's our Instagram handle now.
I like that.
I will dress up as a kitty so that
oh my god, we have Sophie, Momo, and then Kyle and a cat.
Oh man, he's definitely stuck. I don't even know how he got up there. There's nothing around it.
Does he have that like wide-eyed panting thing going on right now, or is he at peace with this situation?
No, he's laying down now. He gave up.
Oh. I will be rescued.
All right. Anyways, back to as resident Marvel expert. What was your question?
What was your favorite action scene? I want your favorite and least favorite, actually.
My favorite actually might be the. I had forgotten about it until Kyle reminded me. Maybe it was because I saw this movie also when I was like, how old was I in 2007?
We would have been 11 or 12.
11, yeah. The riding up and down the building was actually a little bit cool.
There's a lot of things that are a little bit cool, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of things that if you're the target demo for this, which is like 10 to 15.
Also a dad.
Or, yeah. Or like a dad who really likes motorcycles. Like, I didn't think anything in this was like poorly done. It's literally just the ideas were bad.
Yeah. I also saw this with my dad, Chris, when I was 11. And like, I think I was probably a little embarrassed because I was really freaked out by the jump scares in the first act. And like, I'm just trying to imagine, my dad rocks. Like, we got to see all these cool movies. Like, a good bookend is that we went to see Call Me By Your Name together. So we're cool. But like, I can't imagine like him looking over at 11-year-old me like, cowering at this movie. And like, I mean, I'm cool now because I saw Eraserhead when I was 16, and that just induced enough psychological damage to like make me immune to horror movies after this. But like, yeah,
baby Connor.
Oh man, yeah. The thing with like the wolf and the devil jumping out at him when he's like going down the highway as a young boy, I just about shit myself.
See, my exposure to horror films before college was the tunnel scene in Willy Wonka. I thought the scorpions were real scary.
Oh no,
Connor! If it's any consolation, during our rewatch last night, I got freaked out when there was the lightning strike and Satan's shadow was just like tiny.
Yeah,
that was so funny. What are you guys talking about?
It legitimately scared me yesterday.
I am a sucker for religious terror. It takes literally nothing more than the suggestion of the devil, and I get goosebumps.
Yeah, that was pretty scary, not gonna lie.
I agree with a lot of the styling they did around the demons. I just think the directing was terrible.
Oh, that was the only part I found. I thought everything else with the demons was so. First of all, they were elemental-based demons. Like,
that's awesome.
The first guy, like
X-Men just happened. They needed to do something.
Like,
I think what's the other thing I really like?
They all looked like members of Korn.
Oh my god, they did.
Oh man. Wait, that's another movie we need. We need like a kiss the like adventure movie, but it's Korn.
Oh man, that sounds great.
Like a Scooby-Doo teams up with Korn.
Yeah. Live action Scooby-Doo. Korn and Scrappy.
Holy shit. Dude, the guys in Korn would absolutely skin Scrappy alive. Like, that would just be their marketing material for a new album.
And then Scooby and Shaggy have to discover who killed Scrappy. Ruh-roh, Raggy.
Looks like Scrappy got himself into a scrap.
Raggy, what's a rabbitoir?
Raggy, is this a pentagram?
Zikes!
Scooby-Doo actually fighting cultists would be an awesome R-rated Scooby-Doo live-action movie.
Scooby-Doo versus the Clan.
Oh my god.
Another Tarantino property.
Oh man.
Just Scooby-Doo in the Kill Bill jumpsuit with the katana.
Yo.
Oh my gosh. Never mind.
Sorry, Chris, we really deviated. Do you have anything else about the action movies?
I have such a hard time just calling them actions. Like, every demon fight was just like they touch each other. Like, there was no stakes. I was like, one of you is like an elemental demon, and the other one is
porn actors. You get porn performances.
Was it just me? So not the wind one, not the water one.
The earth one that dies immediately?
Oh, so not the earth one then. Then it was the wind one. Was I the only one who thought that they were trying to make him racially ambiguous?
Yeah, it was like super pale, but like
almost
maybe
like
black, maybe like Hispanic.
Yeah. I just found his like kind of a little bit problematic, and the actor is very much so like white.
I mean, this is the whitest movie.
Oh yeah.
Like the whitest.
Not
only because it's about motorcycles, but also because of the way that it was cast. I guess Eva Mendes, but like
I imagine that
it's so weak that I just sort of see an empty spot of celluloid when
I just imagine that like when they cast Eva Mendes, they're like, damn, we're getting real progressive with this shit. Like,
yeah, no, that counts like it's negative progressive points because the like one person of color in the Southwest is like this. I don't even want to say shell of a person because Johnny Blaze was a shell of a person in this movie. Like, they gave her nothing. They gave her an 8-ball and wine.
They actually gave her less than nothing. They gave her a challenge because the character wasn't coherent.
She's a shell of a character, and Johnny Husk is damn it,
Johnny Husk.
Fuck. All right. You know what? Leave it in. This is funny. All right.
Connor Husk, what were you saying?
Well, I was saying that Roxy is a shell of a character, and Johnny Blaze is a husk of a man. But like being a husk of a man involves characterization. Unfortunately, it's just pathetic.
No, there's no pathos, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So
desk is really
I will
messy.
say, this movie did break me down as it went on, though, because in the final scene where he puts his arm into the shadow and makes the skeleton shotgun to rid the demons, a terrible little voice in the back of my head went, "Oh, damn, that's pretty sweet."
Right?
Agreed. That was another cool
That is the pre-critical Connor, as the pre-critical Kyle also resonated with that. Like, this was one of the first movies that I ever saw where I watched where I'm like, this isn't very good, and I shouldn't like this.
Oh, guys, I just thought of like a way cooler action scene for the finale, and I'm just really sad that
No, go pitch your storyboard.
Well, it's not pitching it; it's just taking their idea and making it good. Like you have this like tense battle in between, like going in and out of the shadows, like where you're just constantly transitioning from like Ghost Rider to Johnny Blaze, and it's like
I think Pirates of the Caribbean did that.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want Pirates of the end of Pirates of the Caribbean in this movie.
Oh yeah, any actual combat?
Yeah. Okay, so now I feel better because I can watch 5 minutes.
So Johnny Depp turned down this movie at the exact moment that they were filming Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
so like.
Ooh, question.
He did the right move.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the answer to my question. I was going to say, was it a good thing for, as we now see where Johnny Depp is in his career, would this have no effect at all, been better for him, or been worse?
I mean, Johnny Depp and Nick Cage are kind of at the same point in their careers now. Like, Johnny Depp was just wildly popular for a while.
Both of them have been on downward spirals, but like Johnny Depp's is like a spiral staircase with a lot of black cloth and like candle lights, and Nick Cage just keeps tripping over the top step and falling down.
Yeah, Nick Cage's is like industrial. He keeps tripping, but he's only on like step 3, so like he never really hurt himself. Johnny Depp was once in a very high staircase.
That was when he made Rango, right?
Oh God, no! It was when he was what's his name? The Lone Ranger's Native American sidekick.
Kemosabe.
Tonto?
Nope, I'm just racist. My bad.
Was it Tonto?
I think it's Tonto.
Are we sure about that? I feel like that's a real person, though.
I think it is too, and I think Tonto is based off that person, and that's why.
Yeah, it's Tonto. Yeah, Lone Ranger and Tonto.
Remember when they covered him in dust and said, "You're a Native American now"?
Whew, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
Did you see The Lone Ranger?
No.
Johnny Depp played Tonto.
Oh, good.
They put a stuffed crow on his head and covered him with dirt and said, "Alas, we couldn't find anyone else. So you're a Native American now."
That's a good idea. Nope.
Gotta love racists. Johnny Depp, let's pay him $10 million. God damn it.
All right, you got to cut this. That's better than Nick Cage playing Shaft, though.
When did he play Shaft?
No, I'm just doing a bit.
Oh,
Please cut this. Please, actually, like, sincerely, please don't put that in the podcast.
Put that in the if Connor ever runs for office emergency file, like when you turn into a Fox Valley Republican and decide that you're gonna like become the fascist governor of Michigan.
Oh man,
drop that one.
I'd be the worst fascist.
I don't know. Good antidepressants. Everyone's a good fascist.
Oof. Yeah, real. All right, that's our opening.
That out as well, please. Thank you. Everything that's transpired over the last 5 minutes.
So if we're talking about action scenes again, sorry, I'm just like watching clips again. So when Ghost Rider is fighting Legion, or actually, I don't know if he's Legion or Blackheart at this point. But they get into like a little fist fight action, and parts of Ghost Rider like fall off, so there's just fire on the ground. So then Ghost Rider like picks up a mound of dirt and fire off the ground and throws that at him instead of just shooting fire from his arms, because I just kind of assumed he could do that.
Yeah, it demonstrated that even when he was in human form, he still could throw fire. And then they just kind of forgot about that.
Oh, and it took him all of reading 2 sentences in a book to control the power of Ghost Rider.
That's how meditation works. You read about the concept and then it happens. Mind over matter, bro.
Oh, so can we go back to the point where all of a sudden Johnny Blaze had a criminal history? Because that part just went straight over my head. Like, why did they put him in jail? And how did he know everyone in jail?
Oh, you mean
the jail scene? No, I'm sorry. We need to talk about the jail scene anyway.
They put him in jail with exactly 0 evidence?
Yeah.
Well,
and like they showed up with like 7 squad cars and everyone had their guns drawn.
Okay, another thing that can't go on the podcast. And he's white. Clip can continue.
We can talk about the little like the racial moment in the jail cell, I think, because it's like a little, yeah.
The jail cell scene is pretty great. Because it allows Nick Cage to do yet another insane transformation scene. That I was legitimately concerned for his well-being when he was acting when he did the transformations.
Mm-hmm. Academy Award winner Nicolas Cage.
Raising Arizona, leaving Las Vegas, Ghost Rider. But the second scene where his head sets off the sprinklers.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's another scene where I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool.
That's not how sprinklers work, but I love it. And also the fact that he didn't go out. Fire's stronger than water. That's how we knew he was going to win that fight.
Yeah.
Another great question. What is burning when he's on fire? Is he violating the laws of physics constantly or intermittently is what I'm asking.
Constant.
Hey man, in hell there aren't physics. You nerds go to heaven.
There's totally physics in hell.
Let's see. I kind of like a bit where when Ghost Rider actually doesn't catch on fire, but there's a deleted scene where Johnny Blaze is like, I gotta make this shit look cool, and sets like a mini propane tank on his back that he just like turns on for the entire time that he's going out.
There's like an edit, like the skeleton version of him is like, oh, sorry guys, I couldn't get it to work.
This has never happened before.
And he goes to Mac, is like, Mac, I'm having a serious problem. And like Mac and the pyrotechnics crew are like, all right, man, you're a devil soldier now. Let's get this thing going. Let's make you look fucking cool.
That would have been so much more charming. Like Mac would have had a reason to exist. That's the MCU version.
Oh, for sure.
Ghost Rider loses his powers for a day and really needs to scare somebody.
Also, I like the idea that the whole Captain Marvel for Infinity War 2 thing is just a red herring and Ghost Rider's actually going to come and save them all.
Guys.
Nick Cage Ghost Rider specifically.
Guys, Ghost Rider in the MCU is actually really cool.
Make your case.
Well, a lot cooler than this version, at least.
No, that's not the same thing.
Okay, so my 2-minute spiel on why Ghost Rider in the MCU is cool. So the rights after this movie came out after the sequel, Ghost Rider: The Spirit of Vengeance came out in 2012. At some point, the rights for this character reverted back to Marvel proper, and so the spin-off show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Used the character in their 4th season.
They did the 4th one though. They did like a different. It wasn't Johnny Blaze.
Yes. Yeah. Which needs to be Robbie. They used Robbie Reyes, which is a way cooler version of Ghost Rider. He's like
actually got a good actor too, right? It was like Diego Luna.
Yeah, he kicks freaking ass, and he's actually like, oh, like it's everything you're supposed to be feeling. You're like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. So he's like this mechanic. He's this Hispanic mechanic in LA who
I just love that rhyme.
basically like, and it's just like a very low stakes. Like he got in a bad car accident. That I think my memory is foggy, but basically like the old Ghost Rider like comes up to him and he's like, oh, you'll be saved if you make a deal with the devil. Then he just basically goes up beating up like gangsters in LA, and it's really cool. He like just kind of like protects this small little neighborhood, and then
is he the one that drives a car rather than a bike?
Yeah, he drives a car.
I kind of like that.
No, you guys are thinking of Knight Rider. It's different.
Oh, that's a show that can die in a fire.
Yeah, but if any of you people are out there, I highly recommend season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's actually pretty good.
All right. I kind of like the part where Johnny Blaze like knocks a cop off his motorcycle, like sets out the wall of flames, and like breaks the innocent kid out of jail. Because I'm imagining a universe in which Ghost Rider is an Antifa super soldier. Like this is what everyone that was freaking out on conservative online was thinking about. And so like, yeah, I don't know, like Johnny Blaze, go on Chapo, tell us about what you're thinking.
No, I don't want Johnny Blaze. I want Robbie Reyes.
Robbie Reyes.
I absolutely don't want Johnny Blaze, because Johnny Blaze is a person, he has some very problematic feelings about people of color. Like
Barney.
Yeah.
Maybe Ghost Rider doesn't, but Johnny Blaze does.
I like to imagine the Ghost Rider's super woke, and then Johnny Blaze gets up in the morning and is like, oh, what happened? I felt compassion.
Ghost Rider has the ability to just like see past people's. He lives in a post-racial world.
All right, I'm gonna say some problematic shit. So Kyle, you go on.
I don't know that I have anything to follow that with. One interesting thing I was thinking about is that there's sort of like in the vein of this being a movie that's in many worlds in terms of its genre, there is some shared DNA with like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers, in that it's sort of like a rogues gallery style, like rack 'em up adventure that's like patently ridiculous and sort of semi-aware of its ridiculousness, but not aware of the time that it's in, right?
Yeah,
like, this very clearly reads to me as like a film that was made in the early 2000s. In the same way that like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies read as like late 80s movies. I'm talking about the live action rubber suit ones.
I thought you were talking about the late 2010s reboot.
I will never refer to Michael Bay movies in vaguely complimentary terms, so we can rule that one out.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough when we do our Michael Bay block, though.
I will quit. You will have a guest artist of me screaming on loop.
Don't worry, I'll just make us watch Transformers 5.
Oh, that sounds so good.
We should do a cycle where we pick a movie we're certain everyone else in the podcast will hate. Chris will win, but Connor and I will come up with some weird shit.
Ooh, that's torture. No, but like torture your podmates was just like how we treated Chris for the first 4 cycles of this show.
No, because then we did children's movies, and Chris loved everything.
That's true.
I didn't love everything.
Bionicle you liked, Herkenzini you kind of liked, and Pokemon movie you were salivating over. So.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Oh no, guys, I think our niche is one of us picks a movie that the other 2 will hate.
I like that.
I think that's where the pod has the. That's where the viewership is.
Yeah.
Do you want to do? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I think we're coming up on about an hour. Do you guys want to do last thoughts or random notes, and then?
Oh yeah, can we just? I interrupted you at some point, Connor, when you were just going through your shit notes, and I want to hear the rest of those.
Okay, so I want to go back to cows as a motif, because like there were 5 different shots of like cows mooing at things, and it seemed really extreme. Like, we know that we're in Texas. I don't know why we need that many cutaways, but I'm trying to think of like
something that puts it in a place though. Like,
sorry, yeah, can you go on?
I think like using cows as a reference, using longhorns as a reference, like brings the ruralness that you need for such a crazy character back in, and like that cutaway to an animal for a reaction shot is a classic of like not Western specifically, but like big budget neo Westerns.
Italian spaghetti westerns.
Exactly.
I loved when the cow mooed when they were making out. I'm like, that was a genius editing move. Because it's just like, maybe in the back of their minds, these filmmakers are like, yeah, we're not supposed to take any of this seriously or think that it's good. But then again, they made us laugh, so maybe they were. But anyways.
There were enough times where they were cross-cutting against Eva Mendes that I think there's an argument that the cows are all misogynist in wherever they are.
Oh, shit. I love that reading.
Or the editors are like implying cowiness. I don't know. Like, I don't think that was the textual interpretation of it, but it happens often enough that a post-structuralist could be like, problematic.
Oh, can we do the Nick Caginess analysis? Because I've got two dumb notes that right from the get-go, I knew this was a Nick Cage movie.
So yeah, let's pivot towards the meta, because we've polluted our minds enough with thinking about this as a film.
So right from the get-go, I knew this was going to be a Nick Cage movie because it was a Marvel movie that opened with a Western framing device and closed with it too. And there's something that's like way too earnest and like halfway between self-serious and like, you know, jokiness, but that definitely, because Nick Cage is such an earnest boy, made it seem very sincere. And then the opening title sequence, when we know that they can do computer generated, like kind of realistic looking fire, but they just went straight for like cartoonish hot rod flames and like the titles coming down the track and shooting into the audience. And I know when Nick Cage is in the editing room watching this, he goes, God damn, man, my adrenaline is flowing right now. This is badass.
I have a note that says the intro credits look like they were intro to Hot Wheels 35, the movie.
Yep. I had a very Hot Wheels vibe from that. Oh, my last dumb note, the tree carving scene made me celibate. I was watching like, damn, this is what like most of them. Yeah, if this is what most of America thinks that true love is, like, I think I'm gonna go to a monastery. Like, that's where I think I'm meant to be.
I think that's when I wrote Ghost Rider is just a bad baby driver.
Holy shit.
Yep. Now we're gonna rewatch the movie and think about that.
Really good soundtrack too. I think this one was also done by Johnny Greenwood. That reminded me a lot of Baby Driver. A lot of attention there. Cool metal music. Yeah, the score as well is very Nick Cagey. Like distorted electric guitar riffs whenever like a very minor action is taken by a badass character. Like when what's his name like puts his cane on the grass, like some badass shit's about to go down.
Yeah. There's enough DNA that links this movie to the MCU in terms of like attention to production values that I think it is an important historical artifact, because it's like if you took all of the content out of Marvel and just left the production values. I wonder if some of these like disappointing movies weren't actually the incentive to like organize a studio, because it seems to me like the most glaring problem with the movie is the way that it was written and then the way it was casted and directed, and then the production values. So like Stan Lee was an exec producer on this. I'm sure he wasn't happy.
Stan Lee is an executive producer on everything, though.
I know, but like these are his babies, or at least the brand is his baby. And like,
dude, Stan Lee made Calendar Man, right? Like, I think that he recognizes some of the B tier stuff. Or is Calendar Man DC?
No, Calendar Man is a Batman villain.
Oh, yeah. That rocks.
Doesn't mean Stanley didn't co-produce it.
Uh,
Throw his head into anything. Like,
but I mean, like Stanley also like whether or not he's a good person, like also rode through the '90s, which like in terms of like the brand name of his characters, like his characters have definitely seen like better and worse times. I'm not disagreeing with you that I would be sad if I created something, and I don't think he created Ghost Rider though.
no, Ghost Rider is like Bronze Age, long
Okay.
after he was actively involved with plots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw this movie away from the MCU too far though, because it's part of the immediate stable of predecessors, right? Where Marvel was contributing intellectual property to movies that were very popular, even if they weren't very good, and they weren't particularly close to the source material, right? Like the gold standard for this period of superhero movies was like, at least in the Marvel universe, was like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, which were
or like
better.
the X-Men 2 were out by this point, at least X1 and X2.
Exactly. So like you could see why Marvel as a studio would want more control over their IPs when they're getting really inconsistent products from the existing studio system.
Yes, like what you said is correct, and I'll add that like a lot of it, like so Marvel sold off all their rights in like the early to mid 90s because they were going bankrupt because of the comic book crash of like the 90s. So then all these other studios, huh?
I said thanks TV.
So all these other studios, like Sony and Fox, bought these properties and like made the X-Men and Spider-Man and whatever. And then, I mean, it was like Marvel realized they had these like kind of B-list characters left over and didn't want their brand tarnished anymore. Instead, that like Iron Man came out the next year.
Oh my god.
So like, yeah, contextualizing this movie around other movies is really funny because it makes it worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know that it is itself important, but it definitely, as a historical artifact, sort of will be an interesting fossil in the many layers of superhero movies.
Yeah, it's part of a trend.
Right. I mean, there was actually sort of a bloom of bad superhero movies after the initial revival, too, right? There's like DC produced that god awful Superman Returns movie.
Oh, right at the same time. I think that was 2005 or 2006.
Brandon Routh. Wahoo.
Isn't it just like boring? Like there's no villain?
Yeah, there's Lex Luthor, but it's Kevin Spacey Lex Luthor. And the villain is property development. Like he uses the Kryptonian crystals to grow a new continent offshore of New York, and he's gonna sell houses there.
And Superman says, "No, bad."
Yeah, literally.
Let me fight you in the courts and not with my fists.
All right, Chris, what do you think about the Nick Cage-ness of this movie?
It was very Nick Cagey in a way that I found unsettling. Because in our first two movies that we watched, I felt that Nick cared a little bit. And then it's weird seeing him care a lot a bit. And I don't like it. I much prefer his performance in Knowing. When it was just sad, depressed Nick Cage. Yeah. I don't know. I'm never gonna look at yellow and orange jelly beans the same again.
Oh god.
Did you guys get that yellow and orange are the color of flames, and they were there?
Huh, damn, son, this is deep.
Yeah. I don't know where I was. Yeah, to the Nick Cagey thing, like we kind of started at the very highest end of his output and went a pretty linear path downward. The Nick Caginess, the uncanniness of his character in adaptation was really to the service of the character that he was doing, because that character is also uncomfortable in really reality, and that's sort of Nick Cage. That is an aspect of the Nick Cagey factor. In Knowing, it made sense because that character is like really displaced by trauma and like then discovers something that breaks reality. In Ghost Rider, he didn't need to be there. Like, casting Nick Cage was a mistake in this movie because like his celebrity aura actively broke down the movie rather than contributed to it. And so like maybe the thing that defines the Nick Cage genre is like the degree to which casting allows you to build a diegesis, and like good casting of Nick Cage results in diegetical tension that serves whatever plot you're telling, whereas a bad Nick Cage movie, which would be like this, arguably like National Treasure, the core corpus of Nick Cage movies that the world knows, what defines them is the fact that Nick Cage is an acidic presence that breaks down the diegesis of the movies that they're in, as all celebrity does, but for whatever reason, he is particularly corrosive. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not that Nick Cage is a particularly remarkable actor for good or ill, it's that like casting people don't know how to do things with him.
It's hard to know what to do with a legend, man. Sometimes you just have to let them forge their own path.
Yeah, you can take his soul, but not his spirit.
And that's it.
All right. Thank you all for joining us for our final chapter in the Nick Cage cycle of Duck, Duck, Grey Duck.
Wait.
This is Kyle signing off.
Wait, we have to do ratings.
Do we? Oh, really?
I think so.
Okay, cut that bit. Connor, what would you give your final duck rating for this film?
So,
Ghost Rider.
Given that it was the worst movie and simultaneously the Nick Cageiest movie, I think this one is definitely deserving of a permanent place in the Nick Cage pantheon. So I would give this rating a stick and poke duck tattoo on Nick Cage's shoulder.
Cool. Chris?
This movie is a skeleton on fire of a goose. Would not recommend, and it is worse than a goose.
All right. I would probably call this like an ugly duckling. Because it has the potential to grow into like the MCU, but it never actually does. It's like a forever young ugly duckling. Like it's always going to be an ugly, garish piece of crap, but it points in the direction of better things.
Word.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you all for joining us for the final chapter in our Nick Cage saga here on the Duck, Duck, Grey Duck movie podcast experience 2K18. I'm Kyle, and I'm signing off. Duck.
Grey Duck.
Bye.
Chris, can we fade out with the rockiest song from the score for Ghost Rider? That's like Mad
Not
Max.
rights to any of those songs.
All right, let's stop recording